All right, welcome. We are here tonight with some good friends who want to make our democracy work even better to prepare for the council meetings, the county council, Anne Arundel County Council's vote on creating a public finance option for Anne Arundel County. And I actually believe that of all the good things that we've done in this county to make government work better, this is probably the most important resolution before the county council. If we can get 5 votes out of the 7 council members, then a question will go on the ballot in the November election. And that question will be, should Anne Arundel County do what the state of Maryland has done and do what most of our neighboring counties have done and create a public finance option so that candidates can opt into a system where they raise their money in smaller donations and take it only from individuals in order to get matching funds from the county. And where this has been done, it's made it possible for people who don't have access to either personal wealth or access to a lot of allies and friends that are big corporate donors and big private donors as well, and make it possible, give them a chance so that they can fight to represent us. It helps challengers, it helps new candidates, it helps anybody who wants to use a system like this. And it's been done elsewhere and it's worked. The Governor Hogan was elected with the state of Maryland's public finance option. And in Howard County, there's actually a candidate for county executive who opposed public finance, but is now using it in a challenge against the current county executive. I truly do believe that government works better when communities are engaged, when more people are engaged, and having small donor campaigns for county council and county executive in this county will do exactly that. And my hope is that we can get the votes that we need to get this on the ballot. So I'm going to introduce some of these great folks, and I'm going to start with our council chair, Lisa Ravion from District 6.
Hello, thank you so much for everyone who's tuning in tonight. I'm so glad to be here because this is a subject that really is important to me. So, right now, the way our campaign system works is it's a lot about raising money. I have to tell you, I'll tell you my personal experience. I've spent most of the last 3 months of my campaign just trying to build up, enough financial resources to take the next step. And that is time that could have been spent talking to constituents all over the county, really all over my district, to get my campaign going forward and figuring out, okay, what do my constituents feel about the work that I've done so far? What would they like me to see me do in the future? And that's really what campaigns ought to be about. They ought to be about ideas, not about who has the most dollars. They should be about who has the best ideas and being able to bring ideas from everyone in the community. And I'll be honest too, our council, I like our current council. I have differing views from some of my colleagues, but I think they're good humans. They're good people. But let's be honest, we have the middle class, upper class, white demographic pretty well covered with all 7 seats in the council. And, not everyone is going to experience the county in that, from that same perspective. And so, if we really want our county to be the best place for all, which I certainly do, and I hope every person who runs for office I hope that that's what they want. We need to have the voices that can look at things from different angles. Well, what is the person who, clawed their way through poverty to be able to graduate from high school and lived in the backseat of their car, while they were trying to go through community college? What are those perspectives? What can they bring? What ideas do they have about making our community better for everyone? What is it like from the perspective of someone who's not white? What is it like from the perspective of someone who's an immigrant? And, if we are able to, get the money factor out of the game, we can really diversify the viewpoints and the ideas that we bring to county government. And this has been successful all over the state and places all over the country. And it's time for Anne Arundel County to jump into public campaign finance.
Thank you, Councilwoman Ravion. And I will second the displeasure with spending so much time raising money to fund these campaigns, and the amount of time spent with larger donors in particular, because it's a lot faster to raise money in large chunks than small chunks. And so I know that most people in politics today spend a lot of time at fancy cocktail parties with fancy folks, listening to their problems when they could be listening to the problems of people who are the most vulnerable and have the greatest needs in the county. So I would like to pass it over to Michelle Cowell from WISE, Women Indivisible, Strong and Effective.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for this invitation to speak this evening. My name is Michelle Cowell. I am a member of WISE. We're a group of over 500 women in Anne Arundel County that came together in 2017 to mobilize for the good of our communities. And everything that WISE wants to achieve relies on getting diverse, independent-minded people elected that answer to us, not big donors. This evening, I want to tell you why WISE supports the creation of a fair election fund. During the 2018 campaign season, WISE decided to check out local candidates' campaign donations to help us decide who we were willing to support. What we noticed immediately was how so many first-time candidates had money primarily from individual donors rather than special interests. The problem was the overall amounts were small compared to the incumbents. With name recognition and established contacts, the incumbents had large accounts, but on a percentage basis, fewer individual donations. My thought at the time was I would much rather support a candidate beholden to me, a constituent, but how could these new candidates ever compete with that kind of money? I held out hope that voters would look at campaign donations as a means to judge the candidate's commitment to the individual constituent, and many voters actually did, but the financial gaps are just huge and hard to overcome. So the bottom line is a fair election fund will incentivize candidates to forego special interest money and ultimately result in a government more accountable to us. In addition, it's been shown that a fair election fund encourages people to make those small donations in the first place. And citizens who donate are more likely to stay involved, volunteer for campaigns, and ultimately turn out to vote. So I certainly hope the County Council appreciates all the benefits that this election fund can bring to candidates of both parties. And at the very least, I hope they agree to let the voters decide and put this question on the ballot in November. Thanks.
Thank you, Michelle. And we also have Emily Scarr with us from Maryland PIRG, Public Interest Research Group. Emily.
Thank you, County Executive. My name is Emily Scarr. I am the Director of Maryland PIRG. If you're not familiar with us, we are a statewide public interest advocacy organization. We're nonprofit and nonpartisan. We have grassroots members across the state, including right here in Anne Arundel County. I'm actually calling from my car outside the council chambers. I'm excited for tonight's hearing. I've been proud to work with community members, activists, nonprofit organizations, and legislative leaders to bring these fair elections programs to communities across the state and to update our gubernatorial program. And I'm so excited that Anne Arundel County could be the next community to move forward with small donor public financing, which is just such smart, common sense, nonpartisan public policy. In our democracy, the amount of money your family makes, your gender, your race should not determine the volume of your voice in our elections. But unfortunately, large and corporate campaign contributions play too big a role in our elections right here in Anne Arundel County and across the state. With public financing, candidates for office, as we've already heard, can spend more time building support in their communities and less time having to chase big checks. It's really better for voters, it's better for elected officials, and it's certainly better for our democracy. A fair elections program will serve the dual purpose of reducing the role of large and corporate campaign contributions and reinvigorating civic participation, as we've heard. One thing that I think is interesting is poll after poll shows that Americans across the political spectrum agree that they want to limit the influence of large and corporate campaign contributions. So I'm really excited that you're taking an opportunity to do that. And we're already seeing these programs work. I think, as was mentioned, Montgomery County has used their program already once, and candidates who volunteered for the program had twice as many small donor contributions as those who did not. And right now we're seeing Howard County and Montgomery County use their programs again, and we have Republicans and Democratic candidates opting in to use this new way to fund elections. I think it's pretty clear to most of us that our democracy is in a fragile state with partisan gridlock jamming everything up at the federal level, but the county council can really help bring a more stable democracy here in Maryland by sending this charter amendment to the voters. And I hope you do so tonight so that you could be the next county to have fair election system in place. Thanks for inviting me to speak.
Well said. Can't argue with any of that. So Alexis Dorsey is here from our Anne Arundel County League of Women Voters.
Yes, and greetings from the Anne Arundel County League of Women Voters. First of all, we want to give a shout out to Mr. Pittman for his efforts to bring this public campaign financing to Anne Arundel County through introducing this resolution, which is going to be voted on tonight by the county's council. So my name is Alexis Dorsey. I'm a league member and a longtime resident of Annapolis. For those who aren't familiar with the league, similar to the other groups, we are a political but nonpartisan, nonprofit grassroots organization, and our focus is on empowering voters. So it's just natural for us to support this resolution. Tonight, at least 5 of 7 council members must come together to pass this resolution. So then the amendment can appear on the general election ballot in November. That will empower voters to determine whether to establish a public campaign financing system in Anne Arundel County. As others have mentioned, 4 Maryland counties already have established such a system to enable candidates to compete equitably. So we know it works. We know it has benefits for both the candidates and the voters who support them. So it can increase transparency. Like you said, it can combat corruption and limit the influence of big money, and it can promote citizen participation. The League has actually been supporting bills to create public funding for over 25 years. That's why we urge the voters out there to tell their council member that you, the voter, deserve the opportunity to, on the November ballot, to decide if this county should or should not establish a campaign financing system. That's how democracy is supposed to work. Thank you.
Thank you, Alexis. And last but not least, we have Jessie Noviello, the Southern Maryland lead organizer for Progressive Maryland.
Yeah, thanks, Executive Pittman. Yeah, so Progressive Maryland is a statewide organizing group that's fought for progressive policies and working families all across the state. And one thing we do is we work closely with a lot of new candidates running for office at every level. We're particularly focused at these local level races. We do a training program every year. And one thing we find there is that for a lot of candidates who come from a working class background and are really trying to fight for policies that will help working class voters, whether that be raising the minimum wage or tackling our housing crisis and bringing in affordable housing, they really struggle to fundraise at the same level that other candidates have. And many folks choose not to run at all because they just are not able to raise the funds right now because they don't know a lot of wealthy donors. They are not connected to corporate PACs. And even when they reach out, if they tell them their agenda is going to do all these things that help working class folks, that's not necessarily going to get them those donations that they're looking for. And so we've really done a lot to organize for creating public financing of elections all across Maryland. Here in Anne Arundel County, we organized a town hall, virtual town hall back in 2020 to talk about this issue that had over 70 folks attend. We've collected over 1,000 signatures from folks asking the county council to adopt this type of a program. And so it's great to see that we're on the cusp now of having a vote for this, and we hope we can get 5 votes and put this onto the ballot for the voters to decide. Because yeah, we've really seen that this type of fund can allow new folks into the system. And also, of course, when we're meeting with elected officials and talking to them about issues that are important to many of our members, we often find that, those elected officials have also taken money from groups that may be opposed to what we're fighting for, whether that be developers, realtors, financial services, police unions. PACs representing all of those groups have made substantial donations to candidates of both political parties in the last 10 years, just here in Anne Arundel County alone. So this fund would give candidates of, good nature who are looking to fight for the people and not for corporations, not for the wealthy, a way to run and fund their campaigns without having to go through that process. So
All right.
thank you very much.
Thank you. So I do want to stress that we're not asking the county council tonight to vote in favor of creating this system. We're simply asking them to let the voters decide. So, so that it goes on the ballot in November. And I do want to say that there has been concern among a few about what this might cost. And I think we have to be open and honest that we are talking about public finance. Generally, the way it works is that if you raise enough, if you get enough small donors, you can opt into the system, and then the system might set a maximum of $250 per donor, and then you get a match. So if somebody were to raise $25,000 that way, they would get a $25,000 match from county government. And when you start thinking about what it costs to run for county council or county executive in a 4-year, every 4 years we have these elections. I ran and won after having raised about $700,000. There are not likely to be multiple candidates for county executive using this system. The other candidates will likely use the old system. They have access to large amounts of personal wealth or large donors. And then county council members run often $50,000 range, 50, 60, some even less than that. So even if they raise that much, and then half of it came from the county, we're really talking about a very small amount of money in a 4-year cycle compared to what we spend on just about everything else in the county. So this is very affordable. And in my view, and I think the view of everybody on this call, it's a small price to pay to have enhanced community engagement, more democracy, more people involved in our elections, and more people involved in supporting our candidates. So we plead with the council. I'm sure people will be doing that tonight to at least let the voters make this decision on behalf of Anne Arundel County. And I look forward to watching tonight, and I look forward to hearing some of you testify. So thank you for joining us, everybody.